We are continuing our celebration of Black History Month, honoring the 150th birthday of local and national hero W.E.B. Dubois. Here with more on the life and impact of one of Western Massachusetts' most important figures is Bishop Talbert Swan, president of the Greater Springfield NAACP chapter. Hello, Bishop Swan.
How you doing, Danny?
Thank you for coming on today.
Great to be here.
This is a great time to talk about a great person who I didn't know before I moved here was from the Springfield area.
Yes, Great Barrington, Massachusetts, born.
Where I believe UMass actually has the rights to his house, his childhood home.
Absolutely, and that's where they house the W.E.B. Dubois Center, which is run by a good friend, Dr. Whitney Battle Baptiste. So a lot of the history around a great American and great African American is right here in Massachusetts.
Now, for children who don't know about Mr. Dubois, what are some of the key takeaways they should know about him that kind of sum up his impact and where he was able to accomplish in his lifetime?
Well, you know, Dr. Dubois was the first African-American graduate with a doctorate from Harvard University.
Then excuse me, I said Mr. Dubois. How dare I should get one slap for that. How could I? It's Dr. Dubois.
Absolutely.
Thank you for telling me that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. He also was the founder of the Niagara Movement, which was a precursor to the NAACP, founded to fight for rights for African Americans in the United States. He was a scholar, an author, a civil rights activist. He was one of the founders of the NAACP. So, you know, his history is very important to my organization. He was one who wrote extensively about race in America, and one of his seminal works, The Souls of Black Folk, asked the question about race in America, and it starts out by saying that the problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line. He popularized that term, the color line, and here we are more than a century after he wrote that, and it's just as relevant today because the problem of the 21st century seems to also be the problem of the color line. So Dubois is relevant as a historical figure, but also his writings and his work is still relevant even today.
And that's how you know great literature, if it's still applicable today. They take you back to the Bible, to Shakespeare. Good literature has lessons and morals that are still applicable to the problems we might have today.
Absolutely.
Now, how does his rhetoric factor in? You take Dr. King or Malcolm X, some of the prominent civil rights figures, Ben Swan, one of our local civil rights figures. What did he say that still carries true today?
Well, you know, he was one of the first ones to fight the notion of separate but equal in America, where the notion was we don't have to mix the races, and African Americans can receive something that is separate but equal. He fought against that. So Dr. King's work really was about getting rid of segregation in America and having African Americans looked upon with equality. And so their works, Dr. King's work kind of piggybacks off of W.E.B. Du Bois' work as well. And so it all runs as one thread of activism throughout the century to bring about freedom, justice, and equality.
So it's sort of a passing up the torch.
Absolutely.
From one
generation to the next.
But also, like Dr. King, mostly about peace and peaceful protest.
Absolutely. Peaceful protests, utilizing education, information to inform people, using litigation and various peaceful methods to bring about change.
You mentioned education. I think what's special about W.E.B. Du Bois is that he was someone who was focused on literature. He's an author first. And how does the literature aspect kind of factor into the peaceful protest, how it's more about being educated, making well thought out arguments, as opposed to some of the brash decisions that have been carried out over the last couple of years here?
You know, there's a saying that says readers make leaders. One preacher said some years ago that if you want to hide anything from black folks, put it in a book. Dr. Dubois wanted to debunk that whole notion. That education could be used as a powerful tool to free the masses. Another saying is, if you free the mind, your body will follow. And so he was big on education, as was other scholars like Carter G. Woodson and even Dr. King, who had an earned doctorate as well. All believed that in addition to fighting for freedom through nonviolent means, education had to be used as a tool to empower African Americans.
And it still does today, empowers all of us in all races. I'm so glad that we still learn from him and that we celebrate him in Worcester, Mass.
Absolutely.
Swan, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
We will continue our
My pleasure.
celebration of Black History Month right here on Mass Appeal.